Start the recording. Okay, welcome everyone. Great to see all of you back, and for I think this is the eighth session we are running on this KMGN research community. Moria unfortunately has another meeting in parallel, but she might join us along the way or at the end of today's presentation. Great. So let me share my screen real quick and say a few words as I usually do. And just to, for the newcomers, just to get a bit of a sense of what we do. Let me just paste also this. Here we go. And we're good to go. So, welcome to this eighth edition of this KMGN research community. So once again, the main objective of this community is to meet usually 4 times per year. We might meet a little bit more if we have more speakers, but usually every quarter. And the idea is for participants to learn from each other, to learn from research in progress, research that are been published, academic research, but also practitioner type of research. So we are really open to hear about anything you would like to share. And if some of you are interested in be our future presenters, please let me know. We can start already to schedule you for one of our future sessions. So it's a good way also to share ideas or to get ideas from each other's, and hopefully this can open up also to some future collaboration. So I just share in the chat, we have also a WhatsApp group. Most of you are already part of it, but if you are not, I just share through the chat also the link for you to join the WhatsApp group. So we had over the past sessions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 presenters. So all of these presentations have been recorded and are also available on our YouTube channels. So you can watch them back and see which one you may have missed and might be of interest to you. So our next speaker and our next meeting will be on June 19th. Barbara Phillip from George Mason University in the US nicely agreed to share with us some of the great work she's doing on concept mapping to knowledge graph. And the next one will be in September, 19th of September, where Stefana Mariano, who's currently based at the American University of Sharjah in UAE, will also share with us a paper that she recently published on professionalization of organizational knowledge, particularly in the context of small and medium enterprises. So if you want to be next, please just shoot me an email and I can schedule you for the next talk. But today, so we are very thankful and very lucky to have Larriza Thurler with us, who's going to share with us the work she has been doing on and the research she has been doing related to data thinking. And so I'm sure we are all curious to learn more about it. So Larriza, the floor is yours, and really looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to share my research here. And it's a pleasure to be here talking. And I've been here watching a lot of talks, and it's always something that we learn a lot. I'm sharing my screen. Are you seeing the data think journey, right? Yeah. So that's what I'll be talking here.
Yeah, we can see it, Larriza, but it's not maximized. I don't know if you do it in purpose or if you want to maximize your screen.
No, so
we just see the center of it, but I don't know if you have option to maximize your window, or I mean, we can see your slide, but it's just
no, but I will share again in another way. Let me see.
I found a full screen icon at the bottom right corner next to the cogwheel.
So let
At the very bottom.
So I'll try again.
Mhm.
I was trying to
Sure.
share. Let me see. Now it's
Yeah,
all.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
now it's
Okay.
perfect. Yeah, great.
So before talking about the data thinking journey, I'll just talk a little bit about me. I have a PhD in information science and master and bachelor's in communications. I started in communications and then I met knowledge management and I just went to information science, and I think it's my habitat where I feel more comfortable. And I'm a researcher at the Center of Reference Strategic Intelligence, CRI in Portuguese, here at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, which is also associated with KMGM. And here I'm also an academic curator and lecturer of an MBA in knowledge management. And I'm also Open Data Institute, which is an institute created in London by Tim Berners-Lee and Igor Shadbal to foster the culture of open data. So I'm ODI research fellow, and I'm presenting part of that research in that fellowship here. And I'm also a consultant, and I love, I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. I'm currently diving into AI in organizations, and I'm something I'm really interested in working. I'm a Brown business partner in Brazil. I'm based in Rio de Janeiro, and I'm a mother of a 6 years boy and a cat too. So today, the idea is to talk about data and KM, the data thinking journey canvas, and I presented GPT that I did to guide people on that data thinking journey. So let me start with the data. Data, I pass here. We all working KMers we know already. I just pick one information here. Oh, let me see, because I was trying to open the chat and I couldn't see here. Let me see. I just picked one information here. Data is a basic unit of information in raw form. It by itself may not convey a complete meaning until analyze or proceed. We all know that. But another thing I think it's relevant is to talk about data-driven organization, because it's when data is fully integrated into their decision-making processes, and it's just not an asset, but a core component of the corporate culture. And why I'm talking about data and KM, because we're talking a lot of data lately. Data, without data, there is no AI. We know all that, but sometimes it's hard to be a data-driven organization. And there's a research here showing that there is the progress on data and analytics and AI is stalled in several of the companies that participated on that survey. In 2019, data as a business asset was a business asset for 47% almost of the interviewees, and then it went back to 39, and only 31 was a data-driven organization in 2019, now 23%, and the data culture also went back. It's not easy to use data. And here another survey that's saying that only about 16% consider themselves data-driven. And sometimes us as KMers, I don't know if influenced, I'm talking about myself, but influenced by the data, information, knowledge, wisdom pyramid. Sometimes we think data is not that relevant, but and sometimes we are not a data people, sometimes without the technology skills to analyze data or to use coding for that. But we play a crucial role in bridging that gap between raw data and actually actionable knowledge within organizations. And what I think, why is it? Because we have a set of skills and perspectives, like facilitation of collaborative environments, holistic understanding of information flow, expertise in managed tacit knowledge. All of that could be helpful to integrate to data people more knowledge, data, and information. We sometimes don't have all the tech, but we got advanced information literacy. We know about change management. We're talking about data that's relevant. And we have skills in developing and implementing knowledge systems too. So given all that, I will talk about that get to the data thinking, all that to get to the data thinking, because it's important to understand why that methodology was developed. First was developed by us, me and other researchers at CRI, that center at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, because we were doing some consulting services, and we noticed that people had difficulties using data in their decision-making process, especially non-data people who were not in data department and IT departments. And sometimes we saw that when we integrated that was richer to get data from different perspectives, to get all of them together thinking and using data. So what we did is we've integrated design thinking with all that divergent and convergent phases, with the double diamond, with all the user-centric, with that discussion about the problem before the solutions. So we got all that, and then integrated with data science, with the steps of collecting data, analyzing data, and all the steps of data science. We get it together, each what we've called data thinking. There are other researchers using data thinking too. So we did that to foster a holistic approach to deal with challenges using data. So we thought that was important to understand the problem context before, to get people together from different perspectives, to ideate solutions based on available data, and to experiment with different approaches. And we did that in Brazil with a series of workshops, including also data literacy training, and was like developing during months. We did in some organization, and it proved very, very relevant to get to use the data that the organization was not using sometimes, because they sometimes were doing things that they thought that was working, but we showed that was relevant to get data and evidence in the process. So that was the beginning of that methodology that I'll be presenting here. And when I've been to the ODI as a research fellow last year in London, and we are still concluding some of the research here, but what I did was, instead of being like months in workshops, is trying to put that in a self-paced tool, and I'll be presenting the canvas here. So the organization, the team could do it by themselves. They could have a facilitator that was not from the team, but could be someone in the team, and they can follow those steps by themselves. And also I included some discussion about open data, because and some ODI tools, because they got a lot of interesting tools that could help in the process. So that was all the context of the data thinking and the data thinking canvas and GPT I'll be presenting here. So just to try to explain how that is like if we're planning a trip with your family, and then you decide you're deciding where you want to go. So we got all that discussion, the divergence. You want to go somewhere, your son another one, your husband another one, and then you converge to a destination. And then you get all the data about the costs, about the place, the hotels, and you get your journey. So we got all that steps involved, and you get not only data, but how you get data in this process. So it's a framework that guides organization in using data responsibly to improve decision-making and problem solving through a series of prompts and ODI tools recommendations. And it's a 5-step journey. We got from problem framing to actionable insights based on data science. And it's an iterative approach. We got divergent and convergent thinking. And the idea is to empower organizations to ethically use data to address a range of challenges and deliver actionable insights. And here, I think it'll be easier to visualize how is the journey. So we start by identifying the challenge or opportunity. And then we got all those divergence and then convergence phase. First, we do a brainstorming, and then we converge into an agreement. And why we start with identify the challenge or opportunity? It comes from the design thinking, because sometimes we think we know the challenge or opportunity, because sometimes it's a data opportunity. But when you dive into discussing it, you can see you have the challenge is not that challenge, is another one. So we start by discussing it to see with other people together, maybe non-data people, we are all together and you see different perspectives. So that's the first step. So we got the step of identifying, and once it's identified, we will list data sources that will be relevant to be analyzed. We'll list all data sources. First, we will have a brainstorming, and then we will converge to see if they are available, if they are open, if you have them, or if you have to reach someone, or we will discuss all that. And then we go to the next one, is to propose a hypothesis. We will see what we think the data will tell us, or what data will be necessary to, we will analyze and do interpretations of the data. And then once we're done with that, we'll create a communication plan to all the involved in the situation. And then we'll create an action plan. Here in the data thinking journey canvas, we will finish with the action plan, because it's something to be self-paced, and then we will do that together, and then we will have an action plan, different from the workshops where we got months working with that methodology and actually doing the plan, implementing it. So that's a shorter version, so we can just get to the action plan. And I will go through each step to make it clear with examples, so it'll be easier to understand. That canvas is available on Miro. I'll share the template here, the link. So we got some people using already, 6 and 7 use the template. And it's like this, the whole board. We got the 5 steps, instructions. We got back the facilitator board that he or she can hide it. And at the end, we can share the lessons learned. There's also a place for sharing lessons learned too. So the first one, as I said before, this step is to deconstruct the original challenge or opportunity and reconstruct in a different perspectives. So we use the post-its to get ideas to discuss the challenge, and we will write the post-it like a brainstorming. So, and then we will converge. We will state what's the challenge opportunity in the bottom of the board, so everyone knows and are together in the same page what's the challenge or opportunity here. And then we got some cards with questions that may trigger that discussion. And they are color coded with some ODI tools that can be helpful in this step. So you may use some of the questions, or all of them, depends. Like for instance, if does anyone benefit from the challenge as a challenge? So like it's interesting for someone to get the challenge as a challenge, not to solve it. And other questions. So for instance, one example, how can our school solve the high absenteeism rate? There was one case we did, a school had problems with the high absenteeism rate. Or how can we improve our customer relationship? So that can be, for instance, some examples of challenges here. And be free to interrupt me if you want to ask something too, okay? And that's interesting in the things we did, because I think once we use design thinking with non-data people, they feel more comfortable to talk and to share their perspectives, because they are not they're worried about the data process, if it could be analyzed. They are just brainstorming here. And also from data people, because they got different perspectives, because we were seeing that a lot of data was in silos with IT and people responsible for the data analysis only. Then the next one is listing data sources. The idea here is list all data sources, qualitative and quantitative, that would be interesting to be analyzed here. But then we will discuss if it's available or not. We'll discuss about ethical issues, legal or technical constraints too. So like for the case of the school, maybe some school attendance records, student demographic data, academic performance data, or the case of the customer relationship, CRM system data, sales data, customer surveys and feedback, website analytics could be some of the examples of data that could be useful to be analyzed here. And then we got the ODI has several tools to think ethically and also to see about the data spectrum, because sometimes you cannot have open data, especially in case of organizations. But then you can have, there's not only the open, we got a spectrum of open, we can be shared data. We see, like, for instance, banks or other organizations sharing with open banking or other examples in other sectors, but we can have shared data that is anonymized, but we can use some of that data. So we got some tools that the ODI provide to thinking about that too. So we can think beyond your own data, but other organizations or other data available that's open or shared. And that's an interesting part of thinking about data that you were not thinking before that could be useful to solve that challenge. And
Larriza,
then,
yeah, you have a question in the chat. I think if you
okay.
Can you access it, or I think it might be relevant to answer it now?
Yeah. Also, Joshua said, not sure.
Yeah.
I missed it here whether there was any criteria for agreement having completed the brainstorming task. If there was, how did you arrive at such, since it was a design thinking approach to use? What did you do with the other data points that emerged from the brainstorm sessions? We got into an agreement phase here, we got some instructions to get to an agreement with the group. They will give arguments, because first we got like here 20 minutes in every board. We got the time, a suggested time to discuss about the brainstorm phase. So the brainstorm phase, it's that in the challenge board too, without any analysis, you just put there. But then we will analyze. So for instance, in the first case, sometimes it's not the absenteeism rate. Someone could argue that it's something related to other school problem. So they will discuss that in that divergent phase, and they will get to the results together through arguments. They will have time to do that, and it's not easy to get to the convergent phase, because sometimes you get more time to that because you have to be together discussing that. But in all the cases we got into an agreement with that arguments. With the design thinking, they got that divergent and that convergent phase. So they have to analyze that, if it's really a challenge or not, and if they work together. The main idea of the first one is to get everyone on the same page. Okay, we agreed that that's our challenge. And that's how we do. There's the criteria of the group being conscious about what they are working in the next steps, the following steps, because it all depends on that first step. It's most about that. I mean, it's not something is wrong or right, that's what's agreed there. It's different from the other steps. Here, for instance, they will have to analyze if the data is available, if they can use it, if they have to buy, if they have to do a survey that it's not ready, they have money to have that survey. So here it's something more rational and analytical here to decide which data source they can use it. And the first one is really an agreement within the group, so they can follow together to all those steps, because if they're not together in the first one, all the other steps will be done wrong. That's most, I don't know if I answered you, but if not, we can discuss that too. And that's what's important, to have a facilitator, and there's some instructions about the facilitator. It's important to have knowledge a little bit in design thinking, in facilitating groups. And a lot of KMers, they do that, and they can do that facilitator role here. Some of them, the cases we use external facilitator too, but it doesn't have to be external one. It can be someone from the team.
A question from the previous slide. Yeah, that's the one. Psychographics, the last word, the previous slide. Psychographics or
which one?
No, the previous one, the design thinking or the double
with all the phase. Yeah.
No, the other one. Anyways, there was a psychographic, a word psychography, which caught my attention.
No,
I think it's the next
maybe
one.
this one.
No, the next one, I think. Yeah, yeah, this is the one. The last word in the listing data sources: psychographics, demographics, and psychographics at the bottom. Last one.
Oh, psychographics.
What exactly does that mean?
Is to understand the customer behavior.
Empathy phase of the design. Yeah, got it.
yeah, is related to the customer relationship case, because it depends on with data, and some have like the relationship, the behavior relationship with the brand, or in the sale, in the purchase process. It's kind of that, but it's like just an example of data that could be used. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And then we get to the next one, is that proposing hypothesis. And this stage is to discuss hypotheses for the solution of the challenge or for exploring the opportunity. Because at the beginning, we use the word problem, but sometimes we saw that was not every time a problem, but could be a challenge or an opportunity. So the divergent phase, we write down all the ideas, and then the convergent phase is listing around 5 different ideas. Since this will be just listing the hypothesis, we'll be testing in using and analyzing the data to verify them later, because this process is shorter. So maybe we'll come up with other hypotheses once you are analyzing the data, but that's just a start to get some hypotheses. For instance, in the school case, we could think in areas with higher crime rates, students might be more likely to miss school due to safety concerns. That's a hypothesis. Then you have information about crime in the area, absenteeism in that area with the high crime rates to validate it. Or if lower socioeconomic backgrounds, they are more likely to be absent or not. So some of the hypotheses. In relation to customer relationship, if we get faster response time to customer inquiries or complaints, that can lead to higher customer satisfaction, or customers who are more satisfied and more likely to continue doing business with you and recommend you. Those are hypotheses that you can only validate with data. And that's the idea of here, is to be together with non-data and data people to think about hypotheses that sometimes we are not aware when we don't put people discuss them together. And some of the questions here is related to the data. If you need data skills in the team to validate those hypotheses, so we will have that discussion here too. If the data is updated, that one thing here too to think about that. If when you're analyzing, if you see any patterns that that could lead you to another hypothesis. So this is a step to discuss those hypotheses. And it's interesting to see what a group discussion results and in several ideas that was not thought before. So that is one other step. And then that the hypothesis will be validated, and then we'll have to have a communication plan. And the idea here is to think about who are the stakeholders and how would you tell a good story, because if you need to solve, for instance, the absenteeism rate, you have to know who are involved, teachers, parents, and for students, government, if they're public schools. You have to think different for each one. What you want from them. So that's the time to think about who are the stakeholders involved here, what you need from them, the key messages and channels. Of course, you develop the communication plan in more details later, but you have a first draft of who will be involved and what message you want to pass. And then the ODI has some good tools about mapping the data ecosystem and considering it's an opportunity to consider how open that data will be, because if you want to communicate externally, you have to know if you can do it or if the information is classified or it should not be open. You could see data ethics issues too. So we got also some of the prompts here, the cards with questions and some tools that could be interesting to be used here. And the last step is to creating an action plan. With all that, you have now, you usually do a recap on the 4 previous steps. So you are all aware again of all you've discussed, looking at the results achieved in the bottom. And then you're gonna complete in this board some actions. What's the action, the description, who is involved, the time frame, resources needed, potential barriers, and outcomes desired. And that will guide into the action plan, into implementing the solution or the project, and things that should be done, like using some of the tools, analyzing, deciding who will be the decision makers for this, who will be interesting and relevant to be involved. And that's more planning with all you've discussed in the other steps. So that's one way of using that methodology in that mural, in that canvas with post-its. I think all of our examples we did it remotely, but we could do in person too. But we did it all with the mural and groups virtually. And here there's some instructions before starting the data thinking journey. What's the role of the facilitator? How we can use it? Which color represent a theme? The yellow is for open data, the purple for data ethics, some recommendation of timing, but you could adapt it to your case of people to be involved. And also for the facilitator, some guidance and useful information, and they can hide this board once they are using the template. And one thing we thought was interesting is sharing some lessons of the discussion in the process that we could maybe learn about the difficulties of working with data or other challenges or lessons we could discuss here too. That's an opportunity for that. So that was the Canvas way. And then there's another way of using it. It's through a GPT agent. It's available at ChatGPT, but only for subscribers, for paid subscriber. And it acts, there's a video, it acts as a guide. So first we will explain all the concepts and steps on the data think journey. It will explain what I explained here, an overview, and what is each step. So here it says it has, you can use it in several ways. This is one way, answer questions about the methodology. So we would say all the steps: identifying the challenge, listing data sources, proposing hypotheses, creating a communication plan, creating an action plan, and then it will say that have all that Open Data Institute tools. We must consider that it's a beta, experimental, so it may have some problems, but that's the idea, to train the GPT. So I was asking to help me tackle absenteeism in my school is one example. And then you will answer me that's what involves. And then that could be useful too for the facilitator. It can have some ideas to ask during the facilitation in Miro. So for instance, you think about some of the data sources, some survey, external factors, and some hypotheses too about who would be involved in the communication plan, what would be involved in the action plan. So for instance, the challenge, what are the current rates? How are they changing over time? If there are a group of students more prevalent, surveys, if they are available, if there is some absenteeism in certain days of the week, if there's a correlation of engagement and student attendance, who would be involved, and responsibilities, intervention strategies. And it suggests for here, mentoring programs, engagement activities, some ideas. And then I'm a non-data person, if you think about how to analyze data. And so I was trying to use the GPT to help me analyze some data. And then I download some data from the New York City public schools. They are available online. They got from 2018 to 2023 absenteeism rates in different schools with some tabs like gender and poverty and other categories. So I asked it and uploaded and asked it to analyze the gender tab to know if there's any difference between male and female absenteeism. And it's a huge spreadsheet, and it starts analyzing it for me. So I think that's something very helpful for people without that skills, and it does really fast. Of course, you have to check and all this with the AI things, recommendations, but then it will, every time GPT starts analyzing, it says what it's seeing in the tab, and then it gives me my answer. There's not much difference between female and male average attendance rate. The absenteeism for female is 31 and for male is 33, and those who are not identified with neither male or female. But that results indicate that female students have a slightly higher attendance. And then it suggests me that for a comprehensive understanding actionable insights, I should have other data and consider other specific data. So it's interesting that it doesn't give me something but give me suggestions. And then I asked it to analyze the poverty tab, and it did the same. So it's something that could be helpful in that data analysis process. And it's just one example I did. You could try with other things too. I will share the link for the Miro and the link for this GPT for you to try. And please, if you do try, give me some feedback if it's working. And those with the poverty, it shows a higher difference between those in poverty and those not in poverty. I'm just giving a spoiler, but that's what is going to show me here.
Can I share a not so fun fact that something that came to my mind? Where I live, a few years back, maybe a generation or two back, because of the poverty, children were not coming to school, and the then chief minister started a mid-meal scheme at the schools, which brought up the absenteeism. I mean, it lowered the absenteeism, brought back the students. That's what this reminded me of. Anyways, very, very good insights here.
Yeah, so that's something that came up in the action plan or strategies, and that's interesting. And that's true. That happens a lot in Brazil. A lot of students, the only time they eat is at school.
Yeah.
And here's some of the tools it recommends, and says which tool and for what they are relevant or not. This was just some example here that I would like to share with you, but it could be used in several cases, and it could have another conversation like this. I mean, that was one way I did with the conversation, but the conversation could be gone through other ways. The idea is to talk with the GPT and see what it brings, or what kind of information. I think it could be useful for a team to use together, or for the facilitator, because sometimes it's nice to have ideas previously before facilitating. And here some references in the ODI with that research CRI and my LinkedIn too. So that was the idea of my presenting my research with you, and we're still testing, because it's something that it's interesting to test in different sectors, in different types of teams, smaller or kind of challenges. So it's I invite you to test and to share feedback with me too. And I see there is one question here: have the data source to be digital, or it's possible to have a physical source? It depends. It can be physical source too, but we've used a lot of digital data sources. I think was easier to analyze, but there's not something required. But in the cases we use it all digital. But I think it depends on the team who will analyze it and have that use it in the challenge or in the opportunity. So I will share here in the chat the link to the Miro. The Miro you can just use as a template to use in your board. And also the Chat GPT, unfortunately, as I told you, only with the paid subscription. I guess that will change, may change in the future. I'm not sure, but that's the link if you want to try it. And I will share also a blog post on the Medium. I've written about it, so if you want to read a little bit more about it. And we are writing an article about it with some cases, but it's not finished yet. Once it's finished, and I hope approved, and I will share the link here too with you. And if anyone wanna deep that conversation or try together and do together, I'm open, because we're still doing some cases to include in the article. So you can also reach me for that. I'm not sure with Copilot it will work, because maybe I missed to explain how GPTs work. GPT is a kind of personalized chat GPT that you put a lot of inputs and train it. The name is not good one, because it confuses with the Chat GPT. So once you start a conversation with the Data Thinking Journey Guide GPT, it has to train it, I put all the methodology and I gave a lot of instructions. So it will guide in all the steps. And that will not happen if you go to regular ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot. The only one so far, or Claude, it's not available in Brazil, unfortunately. I would like to use it because they say it's very good, but the only one that allows to create GPTs so far is the ChatGPT, to create in a way that you don't have to know code or other things. It's in an easy way, because there are other options if you are you know how to do it. But so that's one thing that you can do only with this GPT if you wanted all the steps.
We have Manfred, you have a question, please take the mic. Yes.
Larriza, thank you so much. By training the GPT, you mentioned instructions. Did you rely on the standard GPT analytics competence, or did you give an additional competence for example, doing that data analytics?
No, I rely on the data analytics competence of that ChatGPT. Okay. It's a good one. They got even a GPT for data analytics made for them. It's created by ChatGPT's data analysts, and then you can now bring other GPTs in the conversation too. So you can put at data analyst, and you can bring the GPT to do data analysis. But it's incorporated. Yeah.
Because this data analytics tool is or tool application, this additional layer is quite useful, I would say. But integrating a particular competence, for example, if you have for large matrices, for example, where the typical GPT is having some problems to have large data, it might be useful to get some extra, and that's why I'm asking. Yeah.
That's a good idea, because as I told you, I'm not that data analytics, and that'd be nice to get together with someone or to see another GPT who is robust. What I saw is sometimes it says, I have problems with this file, but let me try it again to read again. And then it got to read it again, or it got to make changes by itself. I mean, in the structure, not in the data, but maybe depends on the level of data. It could be nice to have some more deeper.
Thank you.
Any other question for Larriza?
From Monica, say, yeah, that's what we did not consider it, leaves it to data management. That's what we saw, and I use it to do that too, because I as I said, I don't know if it's about the pyramid, but we say that knowledge is the most important, and sometimes or we don't know how to use it. And I see that the data analysis tools now are helping us a lot, those who are not into data analysis. So, and I think we as KMers, we got several skills to do an interpretation or to get together people and to facilitate that discussion that could improve that analysis. I'm not comparing and saying that we're better, but we have different skills that could be used in that process. And I think we should use it more. And I'm the one who now starting to think to use it more than before, because I think it's something that could aggregate a lot.
Larriza, I don't know, did you, I recently discovered what is called the Stingray model, which is an adaptation of the double diamond model, but using artificial intelligence. I don't know if you came across this. Let me share it into the chat. So it's a way to look at, again, the ideation and innovation process, but assisted by AI. And I saw lots of similarities between what you presented today and what they are trying also to present with this new Stingray model, so the double diamond assisted by AI. And I think there might be a lot of interesting parallel you might be able to make on your approach versus their approach. There are lots of similarities. So that's great. In the design thinking, usually we prototype, right? Do you is there anything where you we have some kind of prototyping phase in your approach, or did you think about potentially including it?
In some cases, using analyzing the data and then to come up with some ideas to try, but I'm just looking at your model. I think that could be pretty helpful, and because it's another way of thinking about the iterate phase and the training and the developing. So we didn't use that prototyping too much in our canvas because we intended to do it shorter and self-paced, and it's more about knowing what to do and then having an action plan. It's said to do it like in the action plan, but it's not very well developed due to that time constraints. But I maybe for another version, using that other model and thinking more about that and using AI to get things faster. And that was one thing of the GPT, because with GPT, for instance, you could analyze faster and get all the discussion, and that came up later. So I guess that can be like for another version, and using that model and the AI could improve this. So yeah. Thanks.
And I think, I mean, when you use the GPTs, I mean, the GPT also advise you or recommended you to collect more data. So it could be an iterative where you go back to the data collection phase, you collect more data and you refine. So it doesn't have to be sequential, right? I mean, you can go back and forth and until you get some solutions that you're happy with, and if you have more time, as you said, you can test the solution to see if they really work. And I mean, as was suggested by Sundar, I mean, let's say offering a free lunch to kids, and will it have an effect on absenteeism or not? So yeah, so I mean, but yes, you need a much longer time to test and see the effect of this. Yeah.
But with AI, it can help that thing of doing faster. So I think that's something that could be considered.
Can do some kind of simulation or something like this. Great. Yeah. We have Moria also, who's driving. Hello, Moria. On the road. Great. Do we have, we still have 1 minute. Do we have a last question for Larriza? No? Well, thank you so very much, Larriza, for sharing this this great approach that you have developed. I think a lot of us might be interested to give it a try, and thank you for sharing also all of these resources. I think it will be very useful to whoever might want to engage into it. And as Larriza mentioned, I mean, if you're interested, please get in touch and directly with Larriza, and she will, I'm sure, be delighted to continue this conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Moria, want to say something? Yes.
Yes, Larriza and I have experienced many different usages for these specialized GPTs. So she showed today, she demonstrated one of them. She spoke also about an article. There are so many usages. It's like a treasure of gold. Very recommended to also for data analysis, but for different various usages. So really, I would recommend start exploring.
Thank you, Moria, and drive safely. And see you all on June 19 for the presentation with Barbara Philippe on moving from concept map to knowledge graph. Thank you all. Take a good care and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks all. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.